Welcome to the Money Tips No One Told You podcast. I'm Heather with First Pioneers Federal Credit Union, and I'll be your host. At First Pioneers, we're dedicated to caring for our members' financial needs with heart, and that means providing more than just financial services. It's about empowering you to take control of your financial destiny through knowledge and understanding. This podcast is all about guiding our listeners toward a brighter financial future. So get ready to embark on a journey towards financial well-being, because at First Pioneers, we believe that when our members are financially successful, we all succeed. Stay tuned for a wealth of knowledge and inspiration. Today, I want to talk about a topic that appears to be a bit of a growing trend, and that is payday loans and overdraft protection, or courtesy pay. That's what we call it here at First Pioneers. For many, it's just a cycle that they seem to have become trapped in. And I want to start with courtesy pay in this episode, and then we're going to talk about payday loans in the next episode, so stay tuned for that. And again, some banks may call it something like overdraft protection, but generally it's the same concept. So it's a service that's offered where an account holder can spend beyond what they have in their account. So they're going into the negative, but the credit union or the bank basically covers that amount for them for a certain amount of time. But you have to keep in mind there's usually a limit for how far you can be negative. For instance, for us, I believe it's $500. And of course, this may vary from place to place, so you would need to know what that amount is. And then often you're going to need to get your account back into a positive balance, usually within a 30-day period, or you actually risk that your account may be suspended. And you may be thinking, well, that doesn't sound so bad on the surface, right? The problem is every time you're going over your balance, every time you're going into the negative, you're charged a fee. And the fee depends on the financial institution. I've seen some of them be as much as $50. And this is per transaction. So that's $50 for every transaction, plus the amount that your account was actually short. And look, the reality is sometimes it's an accident. You know, you're at the checkout at the grocery store and something happened. You know, maybe you made a math error in your account. I think we've all done that. Maybe your deposit for your paycheck didn't quite get to your account before you went shopping. It could just be a number of things, and it happens. It happens to even the most attentive person. It's human. There's so many of us that have done this in our lifetime. It just, mistakes happen, right? And the courtesy pay protection takes care of it until you can get to the credit union and clear it up. And the truth is, in my opinion, that's what it's there for. Because again, mistakes happen, right? So where the struggle comes is when there are multiple transactions and those fees start to add up, especially if maybe you've made several stops. You know, you were out shopping and you hadn't really realized what was going on, and before you know it, there's multiple transactions. I actually had that happen to me one time. This was many years ago. My dad had passed away, and I was taking care of those final bills and things like that. And so I was paying them out of my own checking account until we got everything settled up. And I made a fairly large miscalculation in my account. I think I double counted a deposit, if I remember correctly. And so I had sent some checks out. Again, this was a long time ago, so I was paying all those bills with checks. So I had sent them all out. And the next thing you know, my account was several $100s in the negative. And for me, this was actually pretty rare. I was pretty meticulous about my account and always making sure about my accounting, and that, I had everything covered, and I always double check my math and things like that. But there was just so much going on at that time, paying my own bills. I had a small child, again, dealing with my father's death and his estate and whatnot. Y'all, there was a lot going on, and I lost track, and I made a mistake. It was an honest mistake. I wrote something down wrong. I called the bank in an absolute panic, not knowing what to do, realizing all this was adding up and, watching the account basically just go down faster. And they were so gracious. They were very kind, worked with me, reversed a lot of those fees, and just kind of helped me get everything squared away. The lady that I spoke with that day was so kind and, just relax, we're going to take care of it and everything's going to be fine. And I was so grateful for her help. But let me tell you something, that negative number was adding up really fast. Just as those transactions hit, I was just getting another fee on top of each other. So it can really be an anxiety-filled situation if something like that happens. And when I was doing some research on this for the podcast, I saw where the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau said that the average American spends over $250 a year on overdraft fees. They also said that 17% of U.S. households pay at least one overdraft fee a year. See, I told you, this happens to a lot of people. And of course, that's an average. So $250 is an average, which means there are people out there paying more, possibly much more. That $250 could really pay for a lot of things, don't you think? So like we said, once in a while is a mistake. That's truly human. We all do it. The concern is when it's more than that. When it's basically being used as part of your budget. And I know people that this is kind of the way they budget. This is the way they handle their money. They sort of live in that overdraft space every month. They've even figured out how to reduce their fees. So let me see if I can explain this. Let's say they know that they can go to $500 over their limit, right? Over their account balance. So what they'll do is they'll go then withdraw that money in cash, go to the ATM, withdraw that money. So that way they only get one fee. And then they go shop with that cash and then they come replace it before the time limit's up. That gives me anxiety just thinking about it. I can't imagine having to live in that space all the time. Money is such an anxiety for so many people, and knowing that my account is in the negative would just, that would send me into a major panic attack. But I also got to thinking that, okay, I get times are hard. They are. We all are struggling. Money's tight. Getting to that next paycheck sometimes just feels like you're just almost willing it to happen. But part of me is thinking this, okay, and hear me, stay with me. If you can be that smart to figure that out and to figure out how to make your fees lower, you can think and plan that well. That takes some planning and some forethought. I believe that you can think and plan a budget then. And what you would save on those fees may end up shocking you. I'm telling you. And not having to pay those fees every month could actually be part of what helps you get back on track and doing this in a more healthy way, handling your finances in a more healthy way. And I truly believe that the key to breaking that cycle is setting that budget, but then you have to stick to the budget. Hear me? This is most likely not going to happen overnight. It takes some time to adjust to this. You have to first start with tracking that income and spending and really realistically looking at where the money's going. You've got to be truthful about this, because if you aren't, it won't work, because the numbers you're looking at won't be real. So if you go once a week and spend $80 on a new set of nails, you need to write it down. If you spend money on coffee, you hit the drive-thru and get the fancy fun coffee, you need to write it down. And you need to write down the real amount, because that's the only way that you're going to come up with a healthy budget. No one's telling you that there's anything wrong with what you're doing. And I think that's where a lot of people come from. They think someone is maybe judging them because they're getting their nails done. That's not it. that's great if that's what you love and that's what you want to do. But you have to be honest about where that money's going so that you can create that healthy budget. And I'm going to say this too. It can be hard. I'm not going to deny that. I know some of us have cut just about as far as we can. I know I've made cuts in my house. We've had to, give some things up and adjust the way we're doing things just because inflation has been, such a challenge for everyone. And I think most of us think, well, I've cut everything I can. And, we may think we have. And I think some of us think that if we give something up to make our finances better, that it's just gone forever. And that's not true. That's not true. Let me tell you another story about someone who was struggling with their finances. And you know what? They felt like they had really given their finances a good look. And they had. They really had been trying to figure this out. They had made adjustments and done all the things. And they were just still having trouble. So finally, they decided that they would sit down with a financial counselor at a credit union to see what they could do. And let me explain something about that real quick. Several of us at credit unions, many of us at credit unions, have gone through a training, and we're now certified financial counselors, and it is a training that we go through where they take us through all these different scenarios, and we learn all these different things about finances, and they give us a certification if we've done well and passed the course. And what that is for is to allow us to then help our members or to even help our friends and family. Sometimes I think the words financial counselor, they feel off-putting to some people. They think, I don't want to go see a financial counselor. But it's really just someone who has gained knowledge about finances and ways to help with finances that can now pass that knowledge on to you. And I know at our credit union, I think we have 15 people on staff. I may be miscounting that have gone through this program and are certified financial counselors, myself included. So that's what we mean when we say that. We don't want you to think, oh, I don't want to go see that. No, really. We're just someone here we've got the knowledge that we're willing to talk to you, and we want to. We want to sit down with you. Okay. So back off of that and back where we were. So the friend finally decided that she was going to go speak with this financial counselor at the credit union because she really felt like she was just at her wit's end. She was just slowly falling further behind. So she went into the credit union, and with a fresh set of eyes, they started noticing some things in her budget that she really hadn't noticed in the same way. For instance, this person went to Starbucks almost every day. So when they started adding up their different spending categories and how much she was spending in each of those categories, it turns out that this person had spent $1,000 at Starbucks over the course of a year. $1,000. I know I could do a lot with $1,000. I don't know about you. But the truth is, she had never looked at it like that. She's looking at this daily amount going, well, it's just $5 for a cup of coffee or however much it was. So it doesn't really feel like that much. But she wasn't seeing the bigger picture. She wasn't seeing when she put all that together in a cumulative amount, it added up to a lot. So it felt like a really small adjustment, but she made that adjustment. Now, she still goes once in a while, and has a little treat, but she's kind of made a thing out of making her own coffee now. But that little change ended up making a big difference. So sometimes it may just take a few little things, but those may add up to really big things. And, now she's doing much better financially. She's able to save some money. She's keeping up with her bills. And it's really turned things around for her. And she's just in a much, much better place. And again, it started with a very small change. So we're going to start with looking at income and expenses, see where you are with that. And you also want to look at your savings. What do you have in savings? What do you have in other accounts? Are you able to put money into savings? You also want to look at your debts. What do you owe on different things? You need to look at all of it, all of your finances. Take a look and get a good feel for where you are. And then once you know what you're really spending and where you have money coming in, then you can start to make those adjustments. And that's where the budget comes in. You know what you're spending. You know what you make. Okay. So you know every source of income and you know everywhere that you've got to send money to pay. All right. Now you start to take those numbers and you start to put together your budget. Again, starting with your income, writing it down, and then writing down where it needs to go every month. And we've talked about all this before in other episodes. You guys can go back to some of that if you want it more in depth. But again, you're accounting for all of the things that you spend, including things that only happen once in a while. We've talked about how to budget about that. And then you want to do your best to set aside for savings, or regular savings, and also an emergency savings as well. And again, so if there are places that you can maybe trim a little bit on your spending to allow you to put more towards your essentials, then do that. If it's debt that you're paying off, really look at, how can I get this paid off? Where can I start? And then you've got to do your best not to build it back up, okay? Do your best not to be charging things while you're trying to pay it off. And that can be hard, I know. Again, we're in those times that are very difficult. But if do your best to make those plans and then stick to those plans. And again, cutting something now doesn't mean you're going to have to do that forever. Once you're back on track, then you can start looking at, well, what can I maybe add back in if that's necessary, and if you still want to, if you still need to. Who knows, you may end up actually enjoying some of this. For example, I'm going back to the nail example because I know someone that did this. What if you learn to do your own nails? Like I said, I know someone that did this. They were trying to save that money out of their budget, and so they learned how to do their own nails. It can actually be fun. It can be a nice little creative outlet. What if you got together with your friends and y'all did your nails for each other? That makes it actually a really fun experience. So there are ways that you can make this fun where it doesn't feel like basically that you're getting penalized to it. Sometimes you just have to kind of get creative about how that can happen. And the reality is, if you've cut all you can and there really just still isn't enough money, then it may be time to look at other income options. Maybe a second job, a side gig, something to bring in some more money. And of course, there are other steps that can come after that. And these are the really difficult ones, of course, but maybe there are bigger choices that need to be made. Maybe you have to start looking at things like a smaller house, a smaller car, maybe a car where the insurance isn't as much. There's all kinds of things you can look at like that. I know those are a lot more difficult, and the truth is, hopefully that's a last resort. But it may be necessary. So, those are things to look at. And the truth is, you never know, it may end up actually putting you in a better place. So think about those things. Like I said, again, we have another episode where we've gotten more in depth on the budgeting. If you want to take a listen to that to really get into these things in details. But those are the ways that you really get started. The good news is, as you begin to pay those debts and, get out of this costly fee cycle, you're probably going to see your finances start to improve. And often along with that, when your finances are healthy, that'll often be a great boost to your mental health as well. So that's a win-win. And again, I'm guessing this probably didn't happen overnight. So know that it probably won't go away overnight either. And it's true. This is going to take some discipline. It's going to take patience. And you have to truly be willing to make the changes necessary to make real change. And that can happen. And there are apps out there that can help you with the tracking and the budgeting, or You can go old school, do a spreadsheet, or you can go really old fashioned and put pen to paper. I will say this though, be careful with some of those old fashioned ones. Make sure the math is right. Always check your math and always check your entries to make sure that you write them down correctly. Those are big ones. But the peace of mind and stability that comes with ending this cycle and managing your money in a truly responsible way, it just makes it all worth it. And as always, you're not alone in this journey. Remember before when it took a fresh set of eyes to help find those great solutions for the person who was really struggling, and the plan was created and she worked hard and now she can say that she has financial stability. We are more than happy to sit with you and help you create that plan that works for you. So really, feel free to reach out to either one of our branches anytime. We truly mean it when we say that. Your success, your financial success is truly important to us, and we want to do whatever we can to help you get there. That wraps up another episode of Money Tips No One Told You. We hope you enjoyed the insights and tips shared today. If you have any questions, thoughts, or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, feel free to reach out. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Your feedback helps us tailor future content to better serve you. There are several ways you can find us if you need further information or need to speak with a financial counselor. Visit us in person in Lafayette or New Iberia, Louisiana, or at firstpioneers.com to find out how to become a member of our family and find other financial information. Also be sure and check out the show notes for important links and important information. Your financial journey is important to us, and we're here to support you every step of the way. We hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.